Technical foul. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Teed Up Podcast. I'm David.
I'm Justin.
And as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope everyone's doing well, man. We're back. Basketball is back. We're just very happy to get back, man. We're super excited because we have a new schedule out, man. Like, we got a whole new schedule. So basically, it's going to be every Tuesday and Thursday. You're going to get a new episode that's going to be uploaded on YouTube and Spotify. You know, we obviously we've noticed we've been lacking with, uploading and stuff, life happens, school, work, stuff like that. But now we're going to consistently every week, we're going to upload Tuesday and Thursday every single week. Are you okay with that, Justin?
Oh, yeah, I'm great with that. That's awesome. Sounds like a good plan.
And on top of that, we're also going to have every Saturday, we're going to go on Instagram Live and we're going to do an episode there. We're going to be answering your questions. We're going to be talking about what's relevant, but it's mainly just going to be about you guys. We want to get your questions, so make sure to join that I Instagram Live. We're gonna have a time up soon. We'll get to that. So yeah, make sure to tune in Saturday. Probably not doing anything. Come on, man, you're in quarantine. What else better do you have to do?
Exactly.
Like, come on, just tune into our podcast. But yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. Stay tuned for all the content we're gonna have. We got some new special guests coming up. So yeah, it's just gonna be a really good year for Teed Up. Justin, man, every time, you're not wearing a jersey, I see. You usually wear a jersey every episode. Because I actually put one on. I put my Steve Nash one on for, because
that's actually a sick jersey.
Appreciate you, bro. It's like sick, but because I put it on because he's been doing a good job with the Nets, man. We really want to talk about these Nets. They're such a fun team to watch, man. Like, I don't know if you saw that Clippers game.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a super fun game. Kyrie went off, man.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that like it goes to show you too, like just taking some time off and just like just taking some time for yourself, like how much it can benefit you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what it did for Kyrie. And honestly, in my opinion, and this is the topic for today, I think he's, very important to this Nets team. And I wanted to get your opinion. Who do you think would be more important for the Nets? Would it be Kyrie or would it be Mr. Flopper, aka James Harden?
I mean, obviously they're both very talented players. They're different players, though. Kyrie is more of a ball-dominant scorer for point guard, and James Harden seems to be known, and I guess there's this media-driven point that he is a selfish player, which is clearly not the case. He's once again leading the league in assists. He's running that offense. He's averaging 12 assists per game since he's gotten there. I think it's 11 on the year, which leads the league. I mean, he just facilitates. He runs that offense. He has so much he can do. He provides scoring. He isn't averaging as much as Kyrie, but the difference in assists is amazing. And as much as people want to make fun of him for not playing defense, he is the best defender on that team. Now, there aren't many good defenders on that team, let's be honest. I mean, Joe Harris can't defend anything. Kyrie doesn't play much defense. KD hasn't been playing any. KD hasn't been playing any defense based on the injury. He hasn't been going 100%, so he's not playing as much defense until the end of the games. Their big men are DeAndre Jordan. He's washed. So, I mean, I think James Harden is more valuable because he does more all around than Kyrie. I would say Kyrie's been scoring better, but more important to the net, it's got to be James Harden. He's passed better. He's run the offense. And down the stretch these past couple games, they've been going to James Harden. In that fourth quarter, maybe not in the last minute, but up until, that 9 through 3 minute range, they've been going to James Harden, and James Harden's been getting them wins. And when you watch that, when KD and Harden played together without Kyrie, they won the games. They were playing well together. So, I mean, I think I got to go James Harden on that one.
So here's the thing, man. I think Kyrie Irving is probably the second most valuable player for the Brooklyn Nets. First, obviously being KD, and I'll tell you why.
I don't think James Harden's the most important player on that team. I think he's more important than KD.
More than KD?
Yeah, more than KD.
Come on, man. That's K. What do you mean? That's KD. We're talking about KD
James Harden,
here.
Yes, but James Harden does more all around for that team than anyone else on the team does, which makes him more valuable, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's a better player. I would say KD is a better player, but I mean James Harden's a better finisher at the rim. He's a better passer. He's a better dribbler, and he's a better defender this season. So I mean, I gotta say James Harden is the most important player on that team so far. If KD steps it up on the defensive end more, then maybe I'll start considering KD. But right now, Harden beats him in everything other than shooting and all-round scoring. I'd give that to KD. But other than that, Harden beats him in every category.
That's just not true. KD is a light years better than James Harden, man. Like, we're talking about KD here. We're talking about a 7-foot small forward, moves like a point guard, dribbles like a point guard. He can shoot, he can drive, he can defend, he can do all that.
But
He's
he's not
obviously
doing
way
that
more
all at a high
valuable than
level
James
anymore.
Harden. And
James
Kyrie,
Harden is scoring 25 points per game while giving you 12 assists, leading the league in assists. Nobody else is above 10 assists, and he's at 11
well,
points.
I'll tell you, well,
11.3.
I'll tell you two things, right? First of all, obviously you're going to average 11.6 assists a game when you're working with KD and Kyrie. That's just inevitable. Second of
Then
all,
why isn't Kyrie averaging that many assists? Why isn't Kevin Durant averaging that many assists?
because he obviously doesn't, because he doesn't have as much touches as he did, because he's going to be the second or third option.
Why didn't Steph average 12 assists then per game when he was on the Warriors, when he had the best catch and shoot 3-point shooter and Kevin Durant on his team? He had better players around him
because he's not a pass first point guard. We know that.
Exactly. So James Harden is a pass first point guard. I think he does more to that team. And I think Steph Curry was more valuable to that team than Kevin Durant was, just based
all
on
stat padding.
It's not stat padding. How can
it is? It's completely stat padding.
Stat padding
and
is
also
when you
another
don't care
thing,
about the winning and he's just padding his stats. James Harden doesn't do that. James Harden cares about winning. He doesn't stat pad. Russell Westbrook, on the other hand, he stat pads.
Well, of course, James Harden's going to win because he obviously is going to get carried by KD and Kyrie. You know, he's gonna. You know, when I was watching that Brooklyn game, I saw a lot of bad shots. That Brooklyn game against the Clippers, I saw James Harden take a lot of bad shots. I saw him take a lot of stupid shots.
Just
I
because
saw
he
him
didn't shoot
take a lot of dumb
85%
ass
from
shots.
the floor, like Kevin Durant shot 85% from the floor. So, compared to James Harden, of course it's going to look worse. But James Harden didn't play that bad that game. He didn't shoot 85% from the floor, but it doesn't mean he was inefficient.
Yeah, but I saw him chuck up a lot of threes. I saw him try to do that stupid thing where he jumps in and tries to draw a foul. I saw all them, and I saw him honestly take some touches away from KD and Kyrie, which I don't like. I think KD should be the one that always has the ball in his hands.
But they won the game.
They did, but with no help from James Harden.
He scored 23 points. He had 14 assists, and he had 11 rebounds. He had a triple-double.
How many of them were from the line?
I think it was only 4 of them were from the line that game. I believe it was only 4. I believe I'd have to look up but let me look it up here.
And we're not even talking about the other end of the court. What about the defensive side? Since the James Harden trade, you know who has had the best defense in the NBA? The Houston Rockets. You know who has had the worst defense in the NBA since James Harden got traded? The Brooklyn Nets. What does that tell you? He's not a good defender.
Already had a very good
defender. The only reason people think he's a good defender is because he had one good block one game a year ago in the bubble.
The Rockets have the best defense because, one, they already had the best defense. In the bubble last year, they had the best defense in the league. It's not like this is a new thing. The Rockets had the number 1 defense in the bubble last year. They were the best defensive team. That's how the Rockets are built. They have a lot of hard-nosed, aggressive players. PJ Tucker, excellent defender. Eric Gordon, excellent defender. They added Christian Wood, excellent defender. John Wall carrying hard 10% all the time. They were the number 1 defense last year. So them being the number 1 defense, James Harden was on the team last year. They were the number 1 defense. James Harden leaves. They're still the number 1 defense. I don't know, like, what's your point there? They were the number 1 defense
has improved.
It was number 1 last year in the bubble. And they had Russell Westbrook on the team. He doesn't even play defense. It was just, that's their style of play. They play hard-nosed, good defense. The Brooklyn Nets were already a terrible defensive team. You know who is the best offensive efficiency rating in the league? The Brooklyn Nets. It's actually the best ever in NBA history.
I cannot see the Brooklyn Nets prospering in the playoffs. I just can't do it. Maybe they'll do it in the regular season. They'll obviously do it in the regular season, but I just can't see them prospering. I just think they're going to fall apart, and I think it's all going to be because of James Harden, because he wants his triple dimples. He wants to get his touches. He wants to get his 30 free throws a game.
James Harden's not the one. Kyrie's going to be the one that ruins it if he takes more time off, because that's not allowing them to develop chemistry.
That's not true.
This time right here is crucial for them because they need to be developing chemistry. That way they can have success in the playoffs. If James Harden, if Kyrie's not there, they're not going to be able to develop chemistry. And actually, Nets fans don't want to hear this, but this isn't the year for them to win. It's next year. Unless they go out and trade for a center or something, I don't think they win the East this year. I still think the Sixers are the favorites because they have nobody that can guard a big man. You see all these big men are just absolutely dominating them because Jeff Green, DeAndre Jordan, they're washed up. They can't be guarding these guys. I mean, there's talks of getting Andre Drummond maybe, but I think what's going to happen next year, you'll get Spencer Dinwiddie back, so he'll be coming off the bench, and then you'll be adding. You can probably get, you know how the Warriors went out and got DeMarcus Cousins on a vet min deal so they can win a chip. You'll be able to find somebody like the Warriors did with JaVale McGee. You'll be able to find somebody on a minimum deal that will come in and play center for you, so that way you can go win a ring. So I think next year is really the Nets' year. This year is more of just a practice year for them to get it together, get chemistry, and make a run. But if they don't win it, I don't think it's like the end all. Next year is their year. Next year is the year where they have to win. I mean, we saw it with the Clippers. We saw it with the Heat. Your first year doesn't mean you have to win, and I don't think they do win this year. Their team just isn't deep enough. I think the Sixers are the favorites right now.
That's what I'm saying, and I don't think that they're gonna get deeper as a team.
But I don't think it's not James Harden's fault. I think
I think it is. I really think it is. I genuinely think he's a defensive liability, and sometimes he could be an offensive liability.
He's playing the best defense on their team right now.
No, he's not.
He's leading the league in tip passes. He's leading the league in steals last year in the bubble. I don't know what more you want him to do. He's making game-saving blocks. Like, he's playing good defense. He's not the issue on that team. The issue, well, right now there isn't an issue on that team because they have the best record over the last 10 games out of any team in the league. They're absolutely dominating. But when they have to go up against this in a 7-game series versus a guy like Joel Embiid, I don't see how they can realistically stop him. I think he'll be getting 50 points every night just based on the fact that DeAndre Jordan's washed. And even then, Joel Embiid flops and gets so many guys to foul and stuff. If DeAndre Jordan's out of the game, who are they going to put at center after that? Like, they don't have Norman Pell or whatever his name is, the guy that was on their team last year on the Sixers last year. I just don't see it. I think that's their biggest liability right now. And until they get somebody that can, be a true lockdown perimeter defender or interior defender, I don't think they are winning the chip this year. I think they will struggle because even if they make the finals and are playing the Lakers, who's guarding AD? Who's guarding the LeBron James? I guess you can put Kevin Durant on him.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I just don't see him. It won't come down to Harden. Like, he isn't the issue on that team. The issue is going to be their lack of depth because right now they have none. Dinwiddie's out for the year. They don't have that spark off the bench, and they don't have a center. They don't have a big man. They don't even have a 4, really. I mean, Kevin Durant's playing the 4, but when they come off, there's nobody there. They're playing TLC, Brown, Green. Like, they don't have many guys out there. So I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting season. I think the biggest test will be Saturday night because they
that's just such an excuse in my opinion that they don't have enough depth. That's like saying, like, I remember back when Charles Barkley was complaining about LeBron asking for a playmaker. I want to bring this up. Obviously, I'm a LeBron fan, but I agree. Barkley was right. He said, "Look, you can have a Rolls Royce, you can have a Lamborghini, and you can have a McLaren. But why? But if you're asking just for like an everyday car, you can't complain about that. The Nets already have 3 superstars. So if they don't finish the job, it's going to be nothing but a failure. You have 3 superstars. You should be able to figure it out, regardless if you have depth or not."
Yes, they should, but I mean, what happened? I don't know, and
I don't think so.
You see guys first year, but you see it around. How'd the Clippers do last year? They fell apart. They didn't have the depth. They just weren't built right. And it was their first year. They were still developing chemistry. You go back and look at LeBron's first year in LA. He didn't have enough. He went and got AD because he wasn't doing good enough. He needed the more depth. You go and look at LeBron's first year in Miami. They ended up losing. They didn't win at all. You just don't necessarily see teams winning it all the first year just because they don't have the chemistry. They don't have they got to build a roster, build a culture together. Just because they get there right away doesn't mean they'll be able to finish the job.
Right, but here's the thing, they do have the chemistry. KD and James Harden used to be teammates. KD and Kyrie have been friends for years, and there were rumors that they've been wanting to team up for years. And they're really good friends. Of course,
you're on the court right now. James Harden's a totally different player than what he was in OKC. Kevin Durant's a totally different player than what he was in OKC. And neither of them really got on the court together last year. They weren't healthy enough to play together last year. So they've only had a couple games this year. Then Kyrie went out. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily going to be their year. I think next year is their year now. I think they have, I forget if it's 2 or 3 years that they have. I think they have 3 years. I think. I know, no, it's 2. They have this year
Yeah.
and next year because then Harden's deal expires. But I mean, I think if they don't win this year, if I'm a Nets fan, I would not be worried. I think next year is the year where you win the chip.
Right. Assuming that they stay together. But like, like the problem that I have with Harden is just exactly like the fact that he can't finish the job. Like that's what separates me. That's what
But why?
separates him, in my opinion, from guys like LeBron and KD and such.
Okay, but
Because
when you're arguing out here, LeBron's the GOAT, but when somebody brings up he lost to the Warriors, your excuse was, oh, well, they wouldn't have beaten the Warriors. Well, why isn't that same excuse good enough for Harden? He couldn't get past the Warriors, so who cares? It's not used as an excuse for LeBron James, but it's not an excuse for James Harden.
that Warriors team was completely unstoppable.
Yeah, well, you used that as an excuse against James Harden. Oh, he
But I'm
choked in
saying,
game
to
6
be
and
a true
7 when he had a lead
superstar,
against them.
he's had to go up against Steph, Kawhi, Westbrook, Tony Parker back when he was still the Spurs when they were still
James
running
Harden's
things in
been
the
in that
West.
Western Conference and he's been losing to the Warriors and the Spurs constantly, and you don't hold him, you don't like give him any leverage about it. But when it's LeBron James in the finals, just because it's the finals, he gets extra like bonus points that doesn't count.
Because when you call him the greatest scorer of all time or the greatest scorer of our generation, yada yada yada, when you hype him up like this, obviously I'm like, okay, where's his ring? Okay, where's his finals
Who's he
appearance?
played with? He doesn't play with 2 All-Stars like
Russell
LeBron
Westbrook.
James
He's played with he's had many good teams.
Russell Westbrook was absolutely trash, and they should have won. They would have.
You predicted them to go to the finals. I'm quoting you.
No, I'm saying, yeah, Russell Westbrook is a good player. Russell Westbrook's not a bad player. The issue is they didn't have the right pieces like around the team. And when you go back and look, I think, I don't know, it's just LeBron has all these great players around him, and James Harden hasn't had that. Like, this is James Harden's first time being on a big 3. You know how many big 3s LeBron's been on? He was on the big 3 in the Heat.
Arguably 2.
Big 2 now. Arguably, it was a big 3, dude.
Kevin Love. I mean, come on, like we're like Kevin Love. Really?
It was a big 3. It was a big 3. I mean, it wasn't as talented as this big 3. I don't think so, but there were three all-stars on that team. It's like saying Steph, Draymond, and Clay. Like that's a big 3.
I don't think that was a big 3 yet.
It was a big 3. Draymond wasn't a great player, but normally that third player in the quality isn't like a huge superstar. When you go and look at like the Sixers right now, or last year more so, you had Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. That's a big 3. I mean, Tobias Harris wasn't necessarily an all-star player, but he was a good quality third player. The third player isn't necessarily supposed to be an all-star level player.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, like we could go on and on. You know how these Harden debates get. They could literally a Harden debate between us could last 4 hours. So,
could last weeks.
Unfortunately, man, it could go on weeks, months, seasons, millenniums, all that. But let us know what you think, man. Let us know what you think about this Nets team. I will say this: they are hella fun to watch.
A lot of fun.
They're so much fun to watch. They're really good basketball. Obviously, Kyrie with 39 points. He put on a clinic against the Clippers. Another team that I don't think is all that. I think is overrated in my opinion, but that's a totally different discussion for another day. Let's move from Brooklyn.
I got a question for you. So you said you really like watching this Brooklyn basketball team, right?
I do.
You said you watch like them. So a lot of people complain that there's not enough defense in today's NBA. They want a defensive game. Well, why do we all enjoy watching the Brooklyn Nets then if they have the worst defensive rating ever and these games are high scoring? I think there's this narrative out there that people want to bring back like hard-nosed defensive basketball, but I just think it's not as fun to watch. Like everyone always says, like I say it sometimes, like, the hard-nosed basketball is fun to watch, but I think we're actually fooling ourselves. And I think that watching high-scoring games is more fun than watching low-scoring games. Like I think watching good basketball, like that good offensive basketball, outweighs like good defensive basketball. I think it's more fun to watch good offense than good defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like watching a good game and watching a fun game. Like when I watch when you watch the Spurs, like obviously if you give me the choice between, okay, you can either watch the Spurs or you can watch the 2017 Warriors. Of course, I'm going to pick the 2017 Warriors. I'm going to get dunks. I'm going to get threes. I'm going to get step backs. I'm going to get
Mm-hmm.
Clay dropping 30 in one quarter. So obviously it's better to watch. I have obviously I think I speak for everybody. Everyone has a better time when they're watching like an offensive clinic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I just find it funny because you're not the only person that said that. I've heard a lot of people say they love watching that basketball game, but then they'll also go out and say, people will say, oh, I wish it was more defensive. I wish there was more defense. There's no defense in today's NBA, and they complain like that. But at the same time, they love watching the teams that don't play defense and score a bunch of points. I just find that to be ironic.
I mean, for me, like, here's the thing, like, if I just like, I just turn a game on, like it's like a Wednesday night, but it's a good offensive clinic. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
obviously I'm gonna enjoy that. But when I actually like want to watch a game, like I sit down to watch a game, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a good defensive game, I'm gonna enjoy it. So it all just depends for me personally.
Yeah, I think it's more so you appreciate the good defensive games, but at the same time, it's just more fun to watch high-powered offenses go at it.
I would agree. Let us know what you think though. Do you like watching more of a fundamental game, or do you like watching dunks, highlights, crossovers, things like that?
Yeah.
So let's move down to Brooklyn and come home, Justin.
Yeah.
These Sixers, man, we got to talk about these Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they look good.
Yeah, I mean, 12-0 with your starting five is pretty good.
I mean, like they look contendingly good, if that's a word. Contendingly.
Yeah, I think it sounds good. Sounds like a word.
Contendingly.
They're a
I don't know.
contender.
It might be
They
a
they
word. It
they,
may
they
not
are
be a word.
that they are a true contender. That's for sure.
It's a word. Okay, so I'm smart. So yeah, but I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, Tobias has been doing well. Embiid has been playing like an MVP. Simmons,
Mhm.
Simmons is kind of
Struggling as well.
Simmons is a touchy subject, but let me know what do you think, man? Do you think the Sixers actually have a legit shot this year, or do you think it's just going to be another year where we just our first round, second round exit?
Um, I'm not sold yet. I'm a little concerned right now. If I had to pick, I would say they're going to the finals. Yeah, I would say they're winning the East right now. If I had to pick, I think Saturday's game will be a big, like, measuring stick to see if this is legit. We'll be able to
Big
tell.
test, yeah.
I hope everyone plays. I hope Embiid plays. I hope Kyrie, KD, and James Harden are all playing because I'm really looking forward to that game.
Mhm.
But if I had to pick right now, I would say they are coming out of the East. You just look at this team; they have depth. They have two guys coming off the bench, and Shake Milton and Tyrese Maxey. They're both producing buckets off the bench. Furkan's been lights out from three. Um, Dwight Howard's been very instrumental off the bench. He hasn't necessarily been playing the best basketball, but I think his leadership off the bench has really helped. Tobias Harris is playing well. Seth Curry has really scared me a bit recently. I know he did suffer from COVID and stuff, and he hasn't been the same since he's came back. So that is a little concerning to me right now. I hope he does get back in form because I mean he was shooting like 60% from three before he had it, so he was balling. And one thing that goes like underappreciated, I think, is how good of a player Danny Green is. I really like Danny Green. He's not necessarily the most talented player in the world, but he always finds a role on his team and he does that role well. And he gets a lot of hate, but he's the ideal 3 and D type player. And wherever he goes, winning follows. Last year on the Lakers, winning the chip. Year before on the Raptors, found his role, helped them win the chip. And I think he's kind of doing the same this year. This team is just Embiid has become that superstar. I think, people don't really. It's been a while since people have put a true center in their top 5 players in the NBA, but I think there is no excuse. You have to put Embiid in there. And I think Jokic isn't far behind. I think both of them are top 7 players in the NBA right now, and that's not a debate. That's a different topic there. I just think this team has a good mix. Ben Simmons doesn't score, but he plays great defense and he's a facilitator. Um, Tobias Harris has become that second scorer that you need, and Embiid's a true top 5 player in the league. So I think they do have a shot. I think they will come out of the East if I have to make a prediction today. Although I wouldn't be opposed to necessarily a Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal swap, I would be interested in that if we could land ourselves a point guard maybe a Lonzo Ball or some sort. That's kind of off topic, but I think I would not. The Sixers should. I will say now, the Sixers still should have traded for James Harden. I will stand by that statement. But I mean, when people now want to turn to trading him for Bradley Beal, but you can't do that. James Harden and Bradley Beal are both elite scorers, so I know why people want to do that. But there is a big difference between the playmaking James Harden provides versus the playmaking Bradley Beal provides. Bradley Beal doesn't provide much playmaking, whereas James Harden provides a lot. So while James Harden gives you an upgrade where Ben is in points, James Harden also produces just as many assists, if not more assists, than Ben Simmons. Bradley Beal will get you more points, but his defense is worse than Ben Simmons. So is James Harden's. But Bradley Beal's playmaking is also worse than Ben Simmons. So if you can go out there and get some sort of package, maybe Seth Curry and Ben Simmons for Lonzo Ball and Bradley Beal, some type of three-team deal there, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I mean, if I had to pick, I'm picking the Sixers out of the East, even if they don't make any trades. I think this team is legit.
I would say so too. I really think this Sixers team, like I'm feeling really optimistic about them, because usually like when with Brad Brown's Sixers, obviously we have a brand new coach, brand new system, with Brad Brown Sixers, this would be like kind of the time where we start to like kind of start struggling. Like, how, I mean, like everybody knows, like you're a Sixers fan, so you know this, but when, during the beginning of the season, the Sixers start to do really well and everyone gets hyped and they're like, is this our year? And then they start to struggle. They start losing to teams like, like really, shitty teams, excuse my language, but yeah.
No,
So,
yeah, you're right.
but they
Although
don't
last
seem.
night was a little concerning again. They almost blew that game to the Hornets. I've seen a lot of blown leads, and Doc Rivers has a history of blown leads. So that's the only thing I
Yeah.
am concerned about, because I don't think they have a scorer down the stretch other than Tobias Harris.
Well, I just think of that he has a history of blowing leads because he was on the Clippers, and I genuinely believe that the Clippers are cursed and that they will
That's
not
an
win.
interesting take. I
That's
wouldn't
just a
disagree
theory.
with it, but
They're cursed. There's no other way. There's no way that you the closest they've gotten. I was with was with Lob City, didn't do anything. We choked in the playoffs a couple of times, and last year with Kawhi and PG-13, and they still didn't win. They should have won that year, man. They should have at least made it to the conference finals, but they're cursed, so they didn't win anything. So that's just a theory. So I have no evidence to prove that, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so, Doc has a new. Doc's been showing me good signs. Danny Green, obviously, I love the Danny Green signing. Not only is he a solid 3-and-D player, but he's also like just a good mentor, like for championship teams. He's been on 3 different championship teams. He knows the path to the finals. He knows it well too. So he's going to be a good mentor for Embiid and Simmons. These guys that have never been to, a conference finals or an NBA finals. So I think having him just be like a veteran presence on the team is excellent for Simmons and Embiid and even Tobias and all these, because the Sixers are relatively a young team. So
Yeah,
they kind of need like a mentor on that team, and that's honestly why I think we kind of struggled back in like back in like the process era, just because we didn't really have like a veteran presence on that team.
I think Dwight Howard and Danny Green bring that veteran presence this year.
Absolutely, because Dwight Howard's been to the finals once in 2009, and he was there again last year, obviously. So again, like so yeah, I think this team, if it's any year for this Sixers to win with Simmons and Embiid with this era of 76ers basketball, it's going to be this year.
I agree. I mean, I think what was it, 2018 year with Jimmy Butler. I think that team deserved a ring, but I mean, I think that team was probably slightly better than this team in terms of talent. This team's deeper, but that team was more talented. They need to win this year, though. This is their year, because like I said, I think the Nets get Dinwiddie back, and they'll be able to pick up a guy cheap on a vetman deal. Maybe like if Drummond gets bought out in the off season or something happens there. Then that team could become scary. But yeah, this is the Sixers' year. They got to win.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that I would say is they kind of just need like a small forward, like a true small forward, because
Mhm.
we have Toby playing the 4 and then Danny at the 3, which is working all right, obviously, because we're doing so well. We're first in the East. Knock on
Mhm.
wood. I don't want to jinx us, but yeah, like
You need
I
that
just think we need.
you need that Jimmy Butler closer type player. Like that's the
Mhm.
thing. That's what team is missing. I think a guy that would be nice. I don't think they can trade for him, but it would be a guy like Zach without giving up Ben Simmons would be like Zach LaVine. Guy
Mhm.
like him if he were to leave Chicago. But
Well,
yeah.
I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking just like a solid, like just solid 3, like a Karis LeVert type of guy, like a
Mm-hmm.
Daniel House. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
maybe we could have a package like with the Rockets. We could get Victor Oladipo and then
Oladipo is on
Daniel
an
House.
expired contract, so
Yeah,
maybe you can work on that. I have faith in Daryl Morey. He'll probably figure it out.
he'll pull through. He's
Mm-hmm.
by the way, him too has done an amazing job.
Yep.
Which is honestly like I like, as much as I didn't want it to happen, I genuinely thought James Harden was going to be a Sixer just because you have Daryl Morey, and it just looked like all the lights were
Well,
shining in our
what
way.
I've looked at is he was basically a Sixer, and then the Rockets owner said we're not trading with Morey, and then took the Nets offer instead. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that was true, but that's the rumors I've heard at least. So
Mhm. Just the
interesting to
fact,
see, but
yeah, just the fact that they just like shook up the entire league. Like, it's okay. Like, okay, not only is James Harden going to be a Brooklyn Net, but Victor Oladipo is going to be a Rocket. Karis
yeah,
LeVert's going to go.
it was
Going
just a
to go.
huge 4-team deal, and nobody was expecting that.
Yeah, it was wild. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but Sixers are looking good. Hopefully they can keep it up, man. I really like, out of all 4 of our teams, Justin. Like, I don't know about you, but
The
I just
Sixers the
need
only one.
I just want the Sixers, or I mean, like the Flyers, maybe too, because they haven't won one in a while. But like, I just need a Sixers ring, man. I just
Mm,
need the Sixers to win one.
agreed.
So let us know what you think in the comments. Are the Sixers legit? What do you think about this Sixers team? What do you think about Ben Simmons, man? Like, me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a I'm a Ben Simmons. I will always root for Ben Simmons. Like, I will always defend him.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know you're not like that. I know a lot of other people aren't really a fan of him, which is crazy. But
It's not that I'm not a fan of him. I'm disappointed and hard on him because I know he can do much better. I know he's got more potential than what he's showing. That's all.
mhm. But again, let us know what you think. Let's get into these All-Star predictions, man. Like, because the
Mm-hmm.
All-Star game, it was supposed to be Valentine's Day weekend. They pushed it back to March 7th. It's going to be March 7th in Atlanta. And so, yeah, a lot of stacked All-Stars this year. We're just going to go through our starting 5. Who It's not going to be who we think is going to be an All-Star. It's more who Justin and
You
I
think deserves it?
thinks deserves it, like who we think
Yeah.
deserves it. Like, if we were the commissioners of the NBA, this is who we would have starting. So Justin, I'll let you go first with your East lineup.
So in the East, well, I don't think he gets the starting spot. My 2 guards, I think Bradley Beal will get it. I think he deserves it. He's leading league in scoring. He's been dominant. I like him there.
Free him.
My other one would be James Harden. Now he's averaging 24, 11, and 8. I think he deserves it, but I think probably Trey Young will get in based on popularity, but I think James Harden does deserve it. And then my 3 front court guys, I'll have Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Joel. I think I'd really like to see Domantas Sabonis in there, but Giannis has just been amazing. He's averaging 27, 11, and 6. I think Giannis gets in, and Kevin Durant again has been insane. So, I mean, you just can't put him in there. But I think Domantas Sabonis deserves to be in there somewhere, but I don't think he gets in. I just think he's having a good season, but just not good enough compared to Durant, Giannis, and Joel. And then in the West, I went with Dame. He's been balling, and Luca. Those 2 have just been amazing this year, and I really like how they've been playing. I think they're both pretty popular players. So I do think they probably get in. Although the West is tough because there's a lot of talented guys. Curry's in there, some other guys too. That's just the front court, and then the back court, and then you get to the front court. I went with Kawhi, Braun, and Jokic there. I think Jokic is definitely getting in. Of course, Bron's getting in. That's not a debate. And Kawhi's been balling, so I'm putting Kawhi in there, and I think he's a top 5, top 6 player in the league, so he's got to be in there. That's my 5 on each side.
Solid. I think it's solid. So
I know you
for
have a
me,
couple different ones for sure.
a little different. So for my backcourt for the East, I'm gonna take Kyrie, just because I think he's been balling for the. You obviously saw this against the Clippers. He really was playing just tremendously this year, and yeah. So I think he really deserves it this year. I wasn't his Boston days. I wasn't really a big fan of him. Obviously, one because I hate the Celtics, but two just because of all the drama around that. But yeah, but now this year he's on a completely different team, and I think he's been balling. Second backcourt, I'm taking Trae Young. Just what he's been doing for Atlanta, he's really been leading this team to being a playoff contender, and just not a championship contender, but a playoff contender. So I think Trae Young just definitely deserves a starting spot. My front court, KD, obviously, no, I don't need to explain that to you. KD is going to be KD. He's always going to be the second best player in the league. Giannis, again, don't need that much explaining. I think Giannis deserves it too. And then obviously Embiid, because he's one, the best center in the league, and two, he's having an MVP-like year. So that's going to be me for the East. For the West, I agree with you on Dame. I think Dame is playing at an MVP level, honestly, this year. I think he's been playing phenomenal, so he obviously deserves a starting spot. I cannot imagine. I'm gonna go with Steph for my second backcourt, because I just can't imagine a world where Steph doesn't start in an All-Star game. That would just be ridiculous. Obviously the King for my front court. You can have the King, Kawhi, and then the Joker. So that's who I think deserves the starting spot this year.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, there's a lot of different guys that are deserving, and obviously some guys will be snubbed. These are just the starting 5s. There's obviously more players in there. I think everyone we named will be an all-star. I think that's not really a question there. I think everyone will get it. And it's just a matter of will they be in the starting 5.
And yeah, and it's like I doubt that these rosters are going to be who starts, like, 'cause it's always going to be different. I mean, I think they even do like a sweepstakes. I think for like if you guess the starting 5 correctly, you get like money or something like that. But
yeah, probably.
I always lose, so I don't try it. So yeah, that's good. It sucks too, because I really wanted to watch the All-Star game, but I think I don't know the exact reason. Like, I just saw on Twitter that it was pushed back. I was probably due to COVID concerns, because
they're figuring it out and how all that's gonna work. And if they're I think they're having the skills competition too, so that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So let us know what you think. Who do you have in your All-Star starting 5? You could have a completely different players than us. You never know. Make sure to blow up our comments too on Instagram, man. It's teed_up_podcast. Make sure to follow our Instagram, our Twitter. We'll put the links in the description too. Real quick, shameless plug. Finally going to talk about the King, because what is the Teed episode without talking about James Harden and LeBron?
LeBron, yes, our 2 favorite players.
He's doing well, obviously, this year. I call him Mr. Fine Wine, like fine wine. He gets better with age. The Lakers are still contending. They have a better team than they did last year. They're looking really good this year. So with LeBron being the number 1 option, Justin, do you think he has a legit shot at winning MVP this year?
It's tough to tell, because you never know which way the votes are going to go. The award's very media driven. It rarely ends up going to the player that actually deserved it. Sometimes it does, but it's very media driven. There's normally a storyline behind it and all that. So I don't think LeBron wins. I think it's the year of the center. I think if anybody wins, it's going to be Embiid or Jokic. I think those 2 are the guys, assuming Embiid doesn't get hurt and Jokic stays playing at the triple-double pace that he's playing at. I think the MVP award goes to one of the 2 centers. I do not think LeBron gets it. I think last year LeBron deserved it more than Giannis. I think that was the year he should have won, and I don't think they should, just because he didn't get it last year, I don't think they should make up for it make it up for him this year. I don't think that's how it should work. I mean, Joel Embiid's just balling. Jokic is balling. Personally, Joel Embiid's the pick. I don't think it's really even close. He's just straight up dominating his last 4 games. He's scored over 30 points. Like 3 of them were over 40. So I don't really think he's dominating. He does it on both sides of the ball. He's a force on the defensive end, force on the offensive end. The Sixers, I think he hasn't played in 5 games this year, and the Sixers, they finally won their first game without him this year against the Pacers the other day, and they had to come back from 20 down. I just think it goes to show kind of what happens when he isn't in there. And I think he's just the most, when you talk about MVP, most valuable player, I don't necessarily view it as the best player and the best team. I view it as the guy that's most valuable to a team and why they are where they are. And I think the Sixers are in first place only because of Joel Embiid. And if Joel Embiid wasn't on that team, I honestly think the Sixers might have one of the worst rosters in the NBA without him. I don't
Wow.
see how they are even a playoff team without him. Ben Simmons hasn't been playing well enough, and Tobias Harris is just, it'd be a one-man show with Tobias Harris if Embiid's not in there. So I have to give it to Embiid. I think Embiid's the MVP. I don't think Bron is the favorite, and I don't think Bron should win it.
And I'm surprised you called him LeBron and not all the nicknames that you
All
keep
the
sending me.
other names I like to call him,
Like
Le
oh my
Flop,
god, like
LeBum.
the nicknames, like they're not even creative. Like let me
Mickey.
read you, like I have a whole list, right? Le bitch, le shit, le crybaby, le flop, le fraud, le Mickey Mouse, le Adam Silver, le say. I don't
Mickey
even know
Mouse
that
ring.
doesn't even make sense. That even
He runs the league. They give
le
him everything he
saved, le
wants.
super team, le carried by AD, le 3-6-1, le bubble, le
Saved
ass.
by,
These aren't even creative. Like they don't even write. Like le
they're
bum,
very creative.
obviously.
They're very creative, dude.
Like,
He's
like,
overrated. Worst
like
player
I'll
in
give
NBA history.
I'll give you LeBum
Worst
because
player
that's
in
like,
NBA history.
man, I don't know, but I think he deserves MVP, man. Like all jokes aside, like they're not even. I'm sorry, I gotta go. They're not even creative. Like the 3-6-1. Nobody. What if
They're creative.
the second I call like Michael Jordan never beat the Pistons or something? I don't know.
It doesn't have the same ring. Doesn't have the same ring.
Whatever.
Doesn't sound right.
LeBron's the MVP, man. Like to be 36 and to still be averaging 25, 8 and
But I
8
don't think
is super impressive.
age shouldn't matter when you're talking about who the most valuable player is. I don't think that should be a factor. Like when you go in and you're comparing someone and you look at, oh, look at this season, he put up at 36 compared to somebody else at 36. That's fair comparison. But why should one player get penalized just because he's younger? I think I don't think age should really be a factor in MVP award. I don't think that has a difference on who's more valuable.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, the MVP is given to the best player on the best team. And in my opinion, the Lakers are the best team in the NBA. And LeBron is the best player on the Lakers. So
no,
I'm going to give it to him.
Case.
I mean, granted,
I don't think it's a bad choice, but I just don't think, I just don't think he's been as good as dominant as Joel Embiid is. And I think if you didn't have Brown on that team, I still think it'd be a borderline playoff team. You have Anthony Davis, you have Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, you have all these other key pieces on that team. I think they would be a better team without LeBron than the Sixers would be without Joel. So I think that would make Joel Embiid more valuable, and by the sense of most valuable player, it would go to Embiid. But we all know that's not how the award actually works. I think that's how the award should work, but we all know that's not how it works.
And let me make it completely clear. I think if Embiid doesn't win it, I want to see LeBron. I'll just say that. Like I would much rather have Embiid. I'm rooting for Embiid to get it. I want Embiid to get it before LeBron gets it, obviously, because Embiid's one of my favorite players and he's on my favorite team. So
yeah,
but I just think, I think they do have to honestly put that into account. He is 36. He's still running the league. He's still putting up amazing numbers. And I think if you're going to give it to anybody besides Embiid, if he keeps up the way he's playing, they should give it to Bron.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad choice. I think Jokic would out edge him right now, just based on the fact that he's averaging a triple-double, though he only has 2 triple-doubles on the year. So not really averaging I guess he's averaging a triple-double, but he really doesn't get many triple-doubles. But I'd probably go Jokic over Braun, but that's just me. I think Braun's a legit MVP candidate. He's a candidate every year, but I don't think this is his year.
Yeah, but like my whole problem is there are so many years. You look back at like pretty much every year, and he deserves it every year.
Yeah,
Like
and
realistically, he should win the MVP every year.
There's also been stuff with when like Nash won, and there's been different ones throughout the year you could definitely question, and I don't blame him. But this year is a weird year, and normally you got to play a certain amount of games a year to win MVP in the conversation. And because of COVID and everyone missing a lot of time this year, Joel Embiid's going to miss time, and I think it looks more regular than compared to what other teams compared to like a regular season. Him missing time looks more normal this year, so I think it helps his chances, and I think that's one of the reasons he wins.
Yeah. So we're only 20 games into the season, so there's still a lot of time. Anything could happen. So yeah, but I do think LeBron has a legit shot. And going back to there's just so many times where like for example, the year Kobe dropped 81, they gave it to Steve Nash rather than Kobe, which I just thought was weird.
Yeah, it's a media driven award. They vote on it and they tend to put a storyline with it. And I think right now there's a better storyline behind the Embiid Sixers, assuming they finish the 1 seed in the East, outdoing the super team Nets and Celtics and all that. I think there's just more of a storyline to it, and I think it gets the media award. I've seen a lot of media members start. Normally, a lot of the media tends to hate Philadelphia, but I mean,
100%.
Max Kellerman's been saying it. I saw Greeny was out there commenting on it, saying he should win. I saw another ESPN analysts commenting about how Embiid's been the most dominant big man since Shaq, and
Doris
Shaq
Burke
was the last one to win MVP. They all are already calling for Embiid to win MVP, and that's already like a sign. Like, assuming he can stay healthy, I think he wins MVP just because it's a media-driven award. Media is behind it, and he's just so dominant and valuable to this team.
Yeah, and I'm shocked that Doris Burke praised Embiid because she just hates the Sixers.
I like watching her broadcasts when she's not doing a Sixers game. But man, I can't stand her when she's doing a Sixers game because she is so biased. It's like when I listen to Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, especially Troy Aikman, because he is just, when it's a Cowboys-Eagles game and Troy Aikman is going off, he's just so biased towards the Cowboys.
Not even a Cowboys fan. Like let's say like there's another, like he's doing another game and a running back has a bad play. He'll just be like, oh well, if that was Ezekiel Elliott, well he would have took it to the house.
Cowboys into every situation. It's
right.
Just
like come on, man. He's as annoying as any other Cowboys fan on the street. Let's be honest here.
If you're going to be a broadcaster, don't be biased. Just stay neutral. That's all I ask. And Doris Burke, she does a great job. Like whenever I turn on their games and it's not the Sixers, I love listening to her. I love watching her. It's not just like I don't hate her because she's a woman or anything. Like I love her broadcasts. I just hate how she is biased against my team. It bothers me.
Yeah, but I mean, like. I don't know. Yeah, and she's very knowledgeable. Like I agree. She's very knowledgeable about the game. She knows what she's talking about. She's a good.
She just always rips the Sixers, and it bothers me. Like I hate all broadcasters that rip my Philadelphia sports teams. So
yeah, and I don't know if that's because like I know she's from like Long Island. Maybe she's a Knicks fan, and she's just upset with that monstrosity that they're going through right now.
But I like how she's supporting Joel. So
yeah, I like that too. I appreciate it. So hopefully Embiid wins it, but if not, obviously I want the King. You know that. So
I'd say right now he's third. If I had to give you a top three, I'd say Embiid's 1, Jokic is 2, and Braun's 3. If I had to give you a ranking.
Oh my God, we will riot if it comes down to Embiid versus Jokic for MVP and Jokic wins it. Because I'm tired of that debate.
So am I, because I think Jokic doesn't. We can talk about this next episode, but Jokic doesn't have as much of an impact on the defensive end, and I think that's why Embiid's better. But that we can have a debate on that next episode.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. We're gonna wrap it up here. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We're happy to be back, man. Like I said, we got a whole new schedule. Make sure you tune in Saturday. We're gonna be going live get some questions ready for us. We're going to answer all your questions. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Peace.